Okay, guys, this video is going to be a little different in that I'm going to be taking the piss, basically just the same as usual. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a different type of video. No, seriously, this is gonna be different this time. I wanted to do something else, talk about something else other than what I usually do. If you don't regularly watch the channel, don't be afraid. The content isn't always like this. Usually I'm just chilling, having a great time talking about Doctor Who. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, kids. But today, something's been bothering me, and it's been bothering me for a while now. So let's just get right into it. I watch Doctor Who. I watch a lot of Doctor Who. In fact, I don't think it can be understated just how much Doctor Who I watch. Do you know how much I watch in a year? Even if I told you, you wouldn't believe it. I watch a lot. There is a reason they call me the DW fan 91. It's because I'm the 91st fan in the whole world, but also because I'm very knowledgeable about the show. Not to toot my own trumpet, but I do know that the way to the TARDIS wardrobe is by taking the first left, second right, third left, go straight ahead beneath the stairs, and take the fifth door on the left. Which means I know a lot about the fandom. I've been here a while and I've seen it change. And you know what? Let's just talk about that. Let's talk about fandoms. The fans of a particular person, team, fictional series, etc. regarded collectively as a community or subculture, i.e. Doctor Who. I have a love-hate relationship with the Doctor Who fandom because on one side you have the fact that it's a group of people who all share the same passion and enjoyment about this piece of media that I do. You know, people who can get all the references, in-jokes, memes, etc. But then on the other, I don't know, some of you guys just really annoying. Now, but seriously, let's analyze this a little further because at first glance, there really shouldn't be anything wrong with the Doctor Who fandom. You hear this all the time about certain toxic, in quotation mark, fandoms, but Doctor Who really isn't like that. In fact, Doctor Who isn't really like any fandom outside of a bit of overlap. Doctor Who has been around for over 60 years at this point. You would expect it to have acquired its little quirks. And to be honest, these quirks are what I enjoy about it so much. The way everyone has different thoughts and opinions. The way it's split off between generations. Split even further between EU fans and non-EU fans. You can be an EU fan who listens to all of the classic Doctor Who Big Finish, but hasn't actually watched all of the classic Doctor Who show. And I think that's awesome. There will never be one episode that is loved or hated by everyone. It is a Herculean, no, an impossible task to make something in the Doctor Who fandom which everyone agrees on. And that's how it should be. I enjoy the variety. I don't want everyone to be one homogeneous entity that agrees on everything. Which brings me to the part of the fandom that I don't like, which is a group of people who are trying to do just that. This is the topic of the video, by the way. There is such a thing as a fandom consensus, which is pretty much a fancy way of saying opinion which most people agree on. And I think it's only natural. This isn't limited to Doctor Who, by the way, not even slightly. Every fandom will collectivize at some point, albeit not to a complete degree. And I'm not saying it's wholly a bad thing. A fandom consensus can help the creatives see what people on the whole like, see what people on the whole don't. Seeing what's popular and what's not is genuinely really helpful. But like everything in life, it can be taken to an extreme. And that is what I'm seeing right now. So I want to talk about it. In recent months, hell, in recent years, it has, in my opinion, gone out of control. Now, I want to get it out of the way right now that I do still overall really enjoy the fandom. Don't worry, guys. I love the discussions, the comments, everything you guys say, whether it's positive or negative, I like it, okay? But, bruh. I just gotta say my piece. So let's go. In my community tab, I do polls every day. Usually there's something along the lines of which of these is your favorite two-parter or something like that. And it's a fun thing. It's always great to see what people are saying, but then they flood in. You know what I'm talking about. The bots. There's no way these people are real. Look, I'm all for giving people the benefit of the doubt, but you literally just said exactly what he said. I swear to God, people go into the comments, they see what someone else commented, and then they comment the exact same thing. Like almost word for word. Like, bro, who do you think you're fooling? Which takes me on to my next point, which is You guys don't watch the show. I have become somewhat of a connoisseur of polling recently. A master, a grandmaster, if you will. And I can safely say without a shadow of a doubt, at least 75% of people who vote on the polls have not watched the episodes, which is fine. Sometimes I see a poll on my YouTube page, a poll on something I know nothing about, and I vote on it anyway for shits and giggles. Nothing wrong with that. We do a little trolling. The problem comes in when these same people who have not watched the episode, mind you, drop into the comment section like this, the Fortnite Battle Pass, and drop the lamest, most cookie cutter, basic take, as if they're some expert, and then exit with their back to the explosion on some main character type shit. Like, bro, you're not him. You're not that guy, pal. Trust me, you're not that guy. Now, I'm not saying that if you agree with the fandom consensus and that you voice your agreement, that you're wrong. Definitely not. There is a reason why most people agree on these things, and you shouldn't feel ashamed for any opinion you have, unless it's ungrounded. But what I am saying is that after the 50th exact same copy-paste comment going over the exact same points coming from the exact same source, let me just say right now, that shit gets boring. I come to the fandom to talk with people, real people with actual opinions. I could not care less if we agreed on every single possible thing. You could say that your favorite episode is Delta and the Bannerman and that you hate the Daleks, and I'd say right on, go on ahead, me Bob. But when people pull out the Doctor Who placards, copy pasting some second-hand comment that they might have heard someone else say like 3 years ago, like, is it too hard to come up with an opinion for yourself? This is my plea. This video right here. I'm gonna try and convince you, and I'm almost there, so hear me out, fellas, as I provide my case on why critical thinking is important. The Doctor Who fandom is unique. I don't think people fully realize just how divided it is, and has been since 2005. You have the classic fans, the original fans, who saw the show while it was airing in its 1963 to 1989 run. And then you have the modern fans, who started with the reboot, the 2005 version of the show. And then of course you can cut those groups to little subsections as well. Those who started in the 60s at the start, those who came on in with the 70s, those who tuned in the late 70s, or even with Sylvester McCoy at the very end. And similarly now, you have people who started with Christopher Eccleston at the start, or people who hopped on with Matt Smith, or those who skipped 9 to start with David Tennant, or started Doctor Who in 2017, either while watching Peter Capaldi first, or binged the whole thing from the start of the 2005 show while it was on Netflix. The fandom is fractured, and yet you can more or less put together all of these people into those two groups. There's a real generational thing there, as you might expect. But what a lot of people in that second group don't know is that all of the popular opinions in the fan consensus are determined by this group, the 80s fan intelligentsia, as it has been called. Every episode has a reputation, an opinion attached onto it, which is only natural, except for the strange fact that within the Doctor Who fandom, if you have actually watched every episode, as I have, you are in the minority. And not just like a 60-40 minority, I am talking 99.9 to 0.1 minority. Vast minority. There are a lot of episodes, I get it. A lot of people also don't have the patience to sit through the visual equivalent of a PowerPoint presentation, which is why we end up with a lot of these opinions being wrong, especially for the episodes that people haven't watched a lot. A famous example, or should I say relatively famous, considering all things considered this is still a niche part of the fandom, is Enemy of the World. Before 2013, everyone hated this one. Too boring, they said. And then it was discovered. People actually watched it and realized, hey, wait a second, this is actually really good. And you see this all the time. People auto-assume opinions about Doctor Who, usually from faulty sources. The reason why Enemy of the World was a hated episode is because people in the 80s read the production info, they saw what it said in the Doctor Who magazine, maybe listened to the audio tapes and heard a few half-forgotten testimonies of what the episode was like from people who watched it when it came out, and then arbitrarily decided that it sucked. And that opinion held out for 30 years. And it would have stayed that way too if the episode hadn't been uncovered and people actually decided to watch it. But why am I giving you this example? Maybe so that I can segue into the modern equivalent that you guys are all more familiar with? Oh my goodness, how did you know? The Peter Capaldi era is seeing a renaissance in recent years. And all I've got to say is about time too. Holy shit, guys. Took you long enough. People hated this when it came out. Despise might be a better word. I am actually lucky enough to have my recorded reactions to every episode from series 9 and 10 as a testimony to the attitudes at the time. But why? Why did people hate this era so much? Well, because people didn't watch them. You're seeing it? You're seeing my theme, my through line going through here? People don't watch this shit, man. On my polls, people don't watch the episode. For classic Doctor Who, people don't watch the episode. For modern Who, guess what? People didn't watch the episode. It was a bandwagon. A hate bandwagon. Yeah? Someone said that Peter Capaldi's Doctor was shit, so everyone jumped on, no questions asked. Hellbent is the worstest episode ever. Never mind the fact that it's actually pretty good. It's terrible. Hellbent is my favorite example of this, actually. If you guys know me, you know I actually think this episode is pretty good. But why? Well, I think Peter Capaldi's badass. I think it looks amazing. It's a great payoff to the multi-series arc, as well as emotionally. Yes, I think the Clara ending is a massive cop-out, and I have never really cared for me. But Peter Capaldi and Jenna Coleman still act the hell out of those roles. And I can appreciate that. I think it's a good episode. But what do other people think? It's the worst episode ever. It ruined Heaven Sent. The Doctor acts so out of character. No way, guys. The Doctor acts out of character? Maybe that's supposed to be the entire point.
I went too far.
I have a question to ask the people who, in the year of our Lord 2024, are still saying that Heaven Sent is one of the best episodes ever and that Hellbent ruins it. What do you think is more likely? That you, regular Joe Schmo, understand Heaven Sent perfectly, and that incredibly talented BAFTA-winning worldwide acclaimed writer Stephen Moffat got it wrong? Or that maybe you misunderstood what he was trying to say here. If you truly think that Heaven Sent is one of the bestest episodes ever of all time, but the writer partway through part 2 of the same story forgot what he meant in this masterpiece that God shit out from heaven, you need to get a grip. I don't know what to tell you. What's more likely, folks? Are you wrong or is he wrong? In Heaven Sent, the Doctor is wrong. His behavior is wrong. It is unhealthy. He is not getting over his grief. He is forcing his way through. He is going the long way round. Clara literally tells him that he's wrong in the next episode. For some reason, people think these two episodes are disconnected. I beg of you, watch them. Now, I'm not saying that you can't criticize this era or this episode. I don't think Hellbent is perfect. I just think that I like it. As I said, you can point out the me stuff and how on the nose and frankly a little pretentious it comes off as being. You can point out that one weird line they make to Nia Millicent. And you can point out the fact that Clara is the most perfect Miss Virtuoso character throughout her whole time on the show, despite her being mean to the Doctor all the time and that being played off as fine. I think those are all fair criticism. I think that's interesting. I think people giving unique reasons as to why they like or don't like something is good. It doesn't even have to be unique, man. Just reasons at all would be good. I'm not picky. Here is my criteria for a reasonable critique. A, that you watch the episode. B, that you're at least trying to give it a fair chance. If you do that, I am there. Day one supporter. This didn't start with the Peter Capaldi era.
There was a backlash when I was cast.
And it definitely didn't end with it either. It's the cycle of new thing bad. Is it the latest thing to have come out? Then it's bad. Do we need to give actual reasons? Nah. Just say something that appeals to nostalgia. They will leave that shit up. Who cares? Then, of course, the new thing slowly becomes old, and then people get nostalgic for that, or the people that came in with that are finally old enough to join the online discussion. And so that formerly new thing is lumped in with the good old days. And they're just in time to jump into the new conversation about how new thing bad. This is what's happening with the Capaldi era now. RIP Doctor Who 1963, 2017. Ignore the fact that when Twice Upon a Time came out, we hated that too and talked about how disrespectful it was. Now we love it. It's beautiful, in fact. People fucking hated this episode when it came out, by the way. But 2017 is no longer new thing. So it is now good thing. And new thing is bad. Trigger warning. I am now going to be talking about the Jodie Whittaker era of Doctor Who. I am going to be mentioning semi-new thing. If you don't think you can handle this, please see a doctor. Get it? In one of my earliest videos, I talked about the cycle of showrunner hate. And it is so real. I hit it on the head, man. First, we hate the current showrunner. Literally worse than Hitler. Then we hear about his replacement. Suddenly, this new guy is Jesus Christ, come to save us from Hitler. They're gonna have an awesome mech battle. It's gonna be epic. Then the new guy says some comments or does some stuff that the fandom doesn't approve of. Then they release an episode that isn't up to snuff. Worst episode ever TM. Then suddenly old Hitler is the best. And Jesus was actually Hitler all along. Megamind under new management type B. Same shit. Every time. And this is what happened with Chris Chibnall, and is currently happening to Rusty Davies right now, but we'll get into that later. Series 9 was a hated series, and the year-long gap had people simmering in their anger. Series 10 was enjoyed on broadcast, at least I thought so, I liked it, but the wider public didn't seem to. The ratings had hit record lows. No, they matter so much, man. And the newspapers were releasing hit pieces. Certainly wasn't universally loved. What rag wrote this? Wait a second. That's the fucking BBC. Fuck you guys. And so, when Series 11 was announced, the hype was crazy. There was this mad marketing campaign. The buzz around the first female Doctor was electric. And of course, there were people ready to jump on that. But let's skip over that. Let's talk about the series as it released. I remember, to this day, how massive this premiere was. It was probably the last time in recent memory that Doctor Who felt like an event. 60th anniversary included. 10 million people gathered around the television set to watch Jodie Whittaker take to the screen. And they liked it. What? Expecting me to say something else? The Chibnall era and the discourse surrounding it is very confusing to me. In fact, it's the main reason I wanted to make this video in the first place. And sometimes I feel like I'm being gaslit. Conversations about this era often leave me feeling intoxicated to the point where in my polls, I genuinely don't want to bring it up anymore, because all I know will happen is that the same people are gonna say some dumb shit. People get very mad about this era, which is crazy to me, because the vibe which I pick up every time I talk with someone who hates it is that they've actually never watched the episodes. It took me a little while to pin down why I don't enjoy talking about this era online so much, but after much consideration, it just comes down to that. People haven't watched the episodes. Someone else made their opinion for them. People get influenced. They see someone hating and they hop right on the bandwagon. Doesn't matter if they've watched, doesn't matter if they know anything about the program, to be honest. Doctor Who, heard that show got shit. But no longer. I am Doctor Who's champion, the last bastion in our darkest hour. I will protect and vanquish the hordes of mindless haters to reclaim our kingdom, while also giving some reasonable and valid critiques along the way, because why not? It is always important to understand why people do or do not like something. Someone must have watched the era somewhere to give others the impression that it's all shit, right? Appealing to faintly remembered half-truths that people remember from watching the episode on broadcast, to make people hate them more than they probably would. Now, I don't think every criticism is some bad faith attempt to destroy the show or whatever. I will explain the reasons why I think people on the whole didn't receive the Chibnall era as positively, but I will do that only after I explain why I think that most of the criticisms against this era simply don't hold up.
It would be so awesome. It would be so cool.
What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Doctor Who, and more specifically the 13th Doctor Who and her era of Doctor Who. Let's go. I like Series 11. Believe it or not, Series 11 was actually enjoyed initially. The Woman Who Fell to Earth released to positive reception amongst fans and casual audiences alike. And it was only some time afterwards did opinions begin to sour. This is how it always went with this era though. I remember when both Series 12 and 13, new episodes would come out and it would go through this exact same formula. Episode release, people go in expecting it to be the worst thing ever. Hang on a second, this actually isn't that bad. Then they check online, see that their favorite YouTuber hated it, and then it's automatically the worst thing ever. Rinse, repeat. But that doesn't matter right now. Why do I like Series 11? Well, because it's a fun collection of episodes that are consistent in quality, with enjoyable emotional and character moments throughout, with a satisfying emotional arc, callbacks to Doctor Who's roots, but also while being a massive breath of fresh air, unburdened by the incessant story arcs and over-reliance on lore that plagued the show for quite a while now and since. Series 11 is simply a collection of 10 stories with a narrative through line linking them all together, and it just so happens to look the best the show has ever looked. Series 11 is stunning. I can't believe I got flack for saying that this is the best Doctor Who has ever looked. When the Star Beast released, people disagreed with me. I kid you not, I have had a conversation with someone where they said that Curse of the Black Spot looked better. The Woman Who Fell to Earth is quite literally cinematic. It is astonishing how good it looks. Singular clips can't really do it justice on just how well directed this episode is. And the era as a whole, to be honest. I understand direction isn't usually the focus of discussions in the fandom, but can we at least all agree that in this series it is at an all-time high? I mean, so much is conveyed in such little screen time. Look at this one shot. Okay, so we know that the person who had been here before had been waiting for the stanza to pop out of its little cocoon thing, but we don't know for what reason. He asks about his sister briefly, but we never get an answer. But look at this. Look at this one shot. Everything we need to know conveyed just in the environment. People should fucking study this shit, man. And it's not like this stuff is just limited to the premiere. No, the rest of the series is exactly the same level of visual quality. Let's look at this one sequence from Demons of the Punjab. You get these lovely shots of the flowers, of nature, over the horrid sounds of the radio that Manesh is listening to. Then transitioning into this. A shot of a gun, a brief foreshadowing of the events to come, and a representation of the underlying fear of violence palpable in the air that then shifts focus to the necklace of flowers being put around Prem's neck by Graham, showing the beauty in these dark times. And then Graham gives this beautiful speech about good men. How the heck do people not like this episode? Least artistic Series 11 shot. But back to The Woman Who Fell to Earth. Immediately, we get a feel of just how different this new era is going to be. With all the talks of a new reboot for Series 14, Series 11 actually feels like one. The lenses are different, the production crew are different, the music is different. Trust me, we're gonna get into that. But it's great. We get the framing device of the YouTube video that comes around at the end in a heartbreaking way that sets up the emotional journeys our characters will have to go on throughout the series. We get the introduction of Ryan and who he is as a character. Grace is the mediator, Graham is the outsider. I don't think a lot of people know this, but Ryan is actually meant to be 19. Yaz too. Yeah, they don't look it, but they are meant to be kids. Ryan works in a warehouse, Yaz is a probation officer. There's this great shot with Yaz's boss where he's half holding this piece of toast or something. It's stuff like that which just instantly gives character. Unless you didn't watch, of course, in which case you missed all of that. If you doubt me, by the way, when I say that the character work in Series 11 is genuinely great, go back and watch this episode and see how different Graham is compared to how he turns out. There is a real character arc there, and it is compelling. Bradley Walsh sells the hell out of every scene he's in. He's smart, he's funny, and damn, that ending scene, Jesus. And they see the fact that Ryan's dad's not there. They were fucking cooking, bro. Look at Graham. He is mortified. The guy is going through it. And as he's talking about how he's in remission, the whole funeral sequence is just a masterclass. But let's go back just for a second. All the way back to the train. The initial set piece, introducing us to our new doctor. All of the cogs are turning in the background, getting our central characters all in place. And then the train is attacked. People running on the train tracks, the lights going out, and holy, what is that? Tension's rising, and Doctor Who's back, bitch. Play the theme song and everything. You already know I'm about that life. And here is about the time where I talk about how badass Jodie Whittaker looks in that outfit and how quotable this scene is. Half an hour ago, I was a white-haired Scotsman. Can we have the lights and siren on? This is a funny episode. While I was watching this just a few days ago, I was wondering, what clips could I show someone to convince them that maybe this era wasn't that bad? And while I was sitting there watching it, I legitimately thought, just show them the whole episode. It's a good episode. Watch the episode.
Listen to me, listen. I just want you to think.
And then at the end, with Jodie Whittaker getting her clothes from an Oxfam, as a charity shop enjoyer myself, that is incredibly endearing. And then she goes off to find her TARDIS, putting together a makeshift contraption and saying goodbye to her new friends. I'm almost gonna miss ya. It's funny. But then, what a great cliffhanger. It's good. What more do I need to say? a lot. It is no mean feat to start an era, to introduce 4 new main characters basically, a new world, a new style, and a jumping on point for new viewers that attempts to reintroduce the mystery into the program. Series 11 has no returning villains, and thank God. I was pro this decision when it came out, and I am pro this decision now. In fact, it's funny to me how many people say they still want this to happen, but when they were given it, they throw hissy fits. No, not like that. Give me a break. Tim Shaw was badass, and then he was gross, and then he was killed. I'm not gonna act like the Stenza are on the same level as the Daleks, because they're not. But these guys are pretty clean. They're the Predator. They look cool and kill people. Get it? Cool? Because they're... Who am I kidding? You guys didn't watch the episode. I've seen a lot of criticisms be thrown at how the Chibnall era looks visually. The most prominent being that it looks, and I kid you not, too good. This is a real argument, people. It looks good, but it doesn't look like Doctor Who. The fuck's that supposed to mean? Looks like Doctor Who to me. This is the kind of nothing statement I see get thrown around all the time. Like monkeys around the campfire, passing around each other's dung. The people who say this think they're so smart. Oh, it looks good, but not like Doctor Who. That means nothing. It's a nothing statement. Doctor Who is 60 years old. It does not have a consistent visual style. This does not look like this, which doesn't look like this. They're all Doctor Who. What was Chris Chibnall meant to do? Go into the studio and be like, you know what, fellas? Looking great, but I'm gonna need you to make it look a little bit more shit. Wow, this looks incredible. Can we make it worse? This is around the level of criticism that you see for most of Series 11. It's a great episode of television, but a bad episode of Doctor Who. It's a great episode of television, but a bad episode of Doctor Who. It's a great episode of television, but a bad episode of Doctor Who. What are you even saying? Is it good or is it bad? Answer me. I am sorry, guys. It looks too good for Doctor Who is not a valid criticism. Request denied. But let's move on through the series. It's quite a smooth watch, to be honest. Every episode leads on cleanly into the next. Of course, Woman Who Fell to Earth goes into the Ghost Monument, but then the Ghost Monument goes right into Rosa, which then of course goes right into Arachnids, which then, you get the gist. The Ghost Monument opens up with this genuinely thrilling and impressive one take, which I would be surprised that people didn't mention, but of course, again, nobody actually watched this episode since it came out. It's an enjoyable romp with, again, some impressive visuals and an epic climax with more funny character moments and an incredible reveal for the TARDIS. Forgot my key. And I know, a lot of people have decided that they hate this console room, but I don't know, man, I like it. I think it's cool. The lighting is atmospheric and it has a custard cream dispenser. I love custard creams. Next is Rosa, and people don't like this one because the villain is underdeveloped. He needed to have a more fleshed out backstory. Am I the only one who doesn't care? It's not the focus of the story. This episode isn't called The Krasko Adventures. He is some loser with a vortex manipulator trying to alter time. His role in the story is not to take center stage. He gets his backstory, the actor gets a chance to be proper evil, and oh my goodness, is that a close-up? Yeah, I've seen enough. Wrap it up, boys. We have a close-up in Doctor Who. What the fuck is going on? Another non-criticism of the Chibnall era. Too many darn close-ups. This is the scene people point to prove it, which means it must be true for the whole era. Look, there's another one right there. So many close-ups, guys. Wait. What? Stop showing the images! But of course, that's not what they meant. The criticism, supposedly, is that the Chibnall era looks bad overall because it's poorly directed, because the shots are all static or filled with close-ups. And this is the example. Again, another problem solved by actually watching the episode. I find it funny that this scene is what the episode is known for, despite the various genuinely hard-hitting emotional beats, tense scenes, incredible moments. Written by Mallory Blackman, this episode mixes adventure with tension, with laughs, and sadness. I don't really know what more you want from an episode. Maybe people don't like it because it's a historical, because historicals are boring? Yet another copy-pasted take from the 80s era fan intelligentsia. Or maybe it's because history class in school is failing to get people interested in a time period that isn't World War II. Either way, this is genuinely solid stuff. Speaking of historicals, let's skip ahead to Demons of the Punjab, because boy, oh boy, do I want to talk about this episode. Recently, I have been doing a litmus test of sorts on whether or not someone is biased beyond the point of reason. And it involves this episode. Basically, if you say this episode sucks, I think you're brainwashed. Simple as, really. It's daring. It's touching. It's breathtaking. When I say in Doctor Who that I like personal stories, these are the episodes I'm talking about. The threat in this episode is really quite minuscule. It is so human and personal, connected directly to our companion in Yaz. This is her family. Her grandmother had a whole life before she ever moved to Sheffield that Yaz never could have dreamed of. If you've ever spoken to your grandparents and had them tell you stories of the past, you know what I'm talking about. Those themes hit home for me. And so, what are the criticisms that you see for this episode? But the aliens weren't the villains. And the circle goes in.
The circle.
The square hole. Come on, man. That's what we're gonna criticize? We're not talking about the ending, not the effective depiction of radicalization and the characterization of the younger brother, Prem's death, the scene where the 13th Doctor says, never did this before when I was a man. Now we're gonna skip over all of that and we're gonna say, these aliens aren't baddies. No shit. Again, I think a lot of people's issues, in inverted commas, will be fixed by simply watching the episode. Going in without any preconceived notions of it being either good or bad. Wow, the whole species of the villains changed viewpoints? That's so unrealistic, until you realize that the whole villain species adds up to a total of 2 people. Something you would know if you actually watch the episode. The demons tie into the themes of the episode, the culture. Oh god, what am I even doing? As I said, this episode is daring. The subject matter being told in this episode is probably the most controversial of any episode ever. If you know anyone in Muslim or Hindu circles, you will know that it is a massive deal. And so to have an episode like that, whilst also speaking on other historical events that are not so far in the past, it is so courageous that even if you don't like it, you have to give it props. And it takes you away. I love the frog. It's everything I want from Doctor Who. Ryan and Graham's character arc reaches its climax here, with Ryan finally calling Graham his granddad after they meet Grace again for one last time. A genuine, thoughtful exploration of grief. And again, a wonderful looking location. My only thoughts for why this episode has such a negative reputation is that people thought from the Next Time trailer that it was going to be the spooky episode of the season. And so were disappointed when it turned out that the monster sounds were fake. Which brings us pretty much to the end of Series 11. What baffles me is just how much false stuff gets peddled about this series. The character work is consistently solid, and the series ties into each other really well, so it's not disjointed like some people say. Jodie Whittaker seems fluid in the role to me. I suppose I should do a speed run of all the one-off criticisms that people act like ruin the series. The Doctor says that she loves a conspiracy and then that she hates a conspiracy. That's exciting. No, not exciting. What do I mean? Worry. This is just something the Doctor says. The 12th Doctor goes on and on about how much he loves kids, and yet he's the only one who I've ever seen just let one die. He ain't even giving shit either. Bro just walked that off. He's poor. Who even knew him? Now that, to me personally, I feel is a bit more of an inconsistent character moment. If that had happened in the 13th Doctor's era, oh my god, we would never hear the end of it. The monsters are bad. A frog and the Pating. The frog is good and the Pating is funny. The Sangara Conundrum is not a perfect episode by any means, but the Pating is the most enjoyable part of it. This finale is rough. Okay, I'll let you have that one. And I think that's my major problem with Series 11 too. And the reason why it probably isn't viewed as highly as it should be. It does end on a rather dud note. The Battle of Too Long a Title is not up to the Series 11 standard. I'm sure there's something good in there, but when it comes to fair criticism, that episode has faced plenty. It still has its moments, mind you. Graham is pretty compelling throughout, and his final acceptance from Ryan is great to see. But overall, if this episode had been a banger, I'm sure a lot more people would have been more forgiving. Because I think up next is the Chibnall era's greatest sin. And it's not even really the show's fault. Doctor Who took a year-long break. This is the same thing that happened in 2016, and oh boy, did it just make people hate Series 9 more. These long gaps between episodes just make the fandom fester, and when the goodwill was already quite fragile, it didn't take a lot to smash the reputation of this series into a million pieces. Quite quickly, this became regarded as the worst Doctor Who series of all time, which I think is a shame. A bunch of stuff spread like wildfire, regardless of whether it was true or not. This included, but was not limited to, the rumor that Jodie Whittaker's agent called her halfway through the airing of episode 1 and told her to quit her job. I don't think I've heard of a more unbelievable series of events. If you actually believe that, who am I kidding? Everyone's probably looking at me funny for thinking that it's not true. And the ratings discussion emerged once again. Doctor Who ratings disaster was the talk of the town. I talked about this in greater detail in my previous video on the topic, but if you look here, the trajectory of the series matches on almost identically with Christopher Eccleston's Series 1, Matt Smith's Series 5, and Peter Capaldi's Series 8. But all this got me thinking, what are the problems with the Chibnall era? Why is this not as popular as those who came before? And I really have sat and thought about this, because being real, writing wise, it is basically exactly the same. The scripts for all of the episodes are online. You could read them on the BBC Writers' Room website, like I do. They're great fun, good scripts, and they are genuinely not too different. Of course, each showrunner has their style, and Chibnall loves his signature beat, but the structure of each episode between series, the dialogue, it's not really that different. But there has to be something. There has to be something that people didn't connect with. Maybe it is that the Doctor's a woman. Maybe to most audiences, the character just doesn't work when being played by a female actress. That one's kind of difficult though, because you see a lot of people saying that they like Jodie Whittaker, they just don't like the scripts, which in turn is another one of those just copy-pasted comments, so you can't even tell if people believe it when they say that. Or maybe it is the writing, and everyone's standards just got inexplicably higher between seasons. I mean, like, what are we saying? The Eaters of Light is just on a whole other level compared to Rosa? Is that what we're saying? Well, I think I got it. The reasons why people don't like the Chibnall era. I think the main point has to be the music. I don't think it can be understated just how vital music is to a project, Doctor Who or otherwise. It is the lifeblood of the whole creative endeavor. And since 2005, the music of Doctor Who was Murray Gold. It's subconscious. Most people probably didn't even notice just how much they had connected the two. Now, for me, as someone who remembers Doctor Who music before Murray Gold, I don't have that same association. But remember, for most people, especially for most people who've been keeping up only with the revival, Murray Gold's score is the thing that tells them, yeah, this is a Doctor Who episode. And it's why you saw in The Star Beast, an episode which is around the same level as a general episode in the Chibnall era, but it's why you saw people saying with that one, oh, it really feels like Doctor Who. Doctor Who is back. It's because of the music. Murray Gold's score goes hard. And the music produced by Sega Nakanola is simply not the same thing. It's incredibly different. It's a whole different genre. It's an entirely different vibe. And I think it's great. I know a lot of people won't ever give him a chance because it just sounds too different. But a lot of these themes, these tracks, are magnificent. Like most things in this era, you have the standard copy-paste critique. Oh, it's all just ambience. It's not really. But there is some in there. Again, people just want to make it out to be the worst thing ever because they've never actually listened to it. Let's not disrespect Sega Nakanola. The dude is talented. And I remember I saw a lot of people saying, oh, no hate to Sega Nakanola, but I think that he's shit. Eyebrow. But of course, music is subjective. I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't like, but I will say at least hear them out. Because I've been listening to the Series 12 soundtrack and this shit be bopping. The Master theme, the new Dalek theme, that cliffhanger music they played in the Halloween Apocalypse. This era has no shortage of good tracks, but they are different. And I understand how to the audience that might be jarring. Speaking of jarring, I know a lot of Americans are watching this show, and I know that these accents can be a little too much. Honestly, when I rewatch the Chibnall era, this has to be the one thing which stands out to me as to why people don't like it. Believe it or not, London is not the only place in the UK, and people don't all speak in that chippy estuary accent that David Tennant can do. I genuinely think that a lot of Americans just don't like the sound of these people's voices. Like, end of. They don't like their accents. They are a little thick, to be fair. And maybe that's also the reason why people like Graham the most. I just know that it's a lot of these subconscious things that can form a negative bias. Another one of these would be how British it is, to the extent where it's kind of pushing audiences away. I did not know this, but apparently in America you don't have charity shops, like no Oxfam, no Red Cross. That's crazy to me. But of course to you, it's just normal, which is why the scene where 13 finds her clothes is so weird to you, but perfectly normal to me. I find the idea of a doctor choosing their clothes in a charity shop to be really endearing. But I bet a lot of Americans are sitting there scratching their heads thinking, this ain't no mall. But of course, I couldn't make a video talking about the Chibnall era and why people didn't like it without mentioning the Timeless Child. Timeless Child mentioned, everybody. Yahoo! Gotta fit it in there every video. You guys already know. In fact, why don't I just play here what I said last time? As you guys may know, I'm not cuckoo for Cocoa Pops about the Timeless Child plot reveal. I have criticized it plenty in the past, and I don't really hide the fact that I thought it was a mostly pointless plot twist. However, a lot of people, they go feral whenever it's mentioned, sometimes even when it's not mentioned, and you guys are losers. Come on, man, chill. I've said this before, I no longer have any patience for Chibnall haters. Now, if you don't like the Chibnall era, if you voice your criticisms for the Chibnall era, that does not make you a Chibnall hater. A person who doesn't like the Chibnall era of Doctor Who is just that, someone who doesn't like that era of Doctor Who. I think that's perfectly fine. However, a Chibnall hater is a mindless zombie, spamming my comment section with the worst takes I've ever seen in my life. Worse than a kid with cancer. Basically, this is the test. If you feel like you're willing to tell me to kill myself because I say that the Timeless Child isn't that big a deal, you might be a Chibnall hater. But hey, can you believe it? I went all that time and I haven't even talked about the twist itself yet. Maybe that shows how we might have a problem within the fandom. I don't know though. The Timeless Child implies that before the events of the TV show Doctor Who, there was a child on a random planet who was then taken back to Gallifrey. Turned out this child had regeneration powers. The big three in Time Lord Society used this to create Time Lord Society before erasing the child's memory and turning them back into a regular Time Lord who grew up on Gallifrey with no one around them, including them, having any idea who they were before. This character then eventually grew up to be the Doctor. Many years later, the Master discovers this, gets incredibly angry, and decides to murder everyone. You know, as you do. He then gaslights the Doctor into thinking that she is the problem. She is the reason why Time Lord Society grew into the evil and corrupt place we know it to be, when in reality, we as the audience are meant to put together that the Doctor is in fact a victim. That's the Timeless Child, okay? That's the story. Is it perfect? No. Is it law-breaking? Also no. There are things in every modern era that I do not like. For the Russell T Davies era, it is the dynamic between the 10th Doctor and Rose. It really annoys me and ruins otherwise great episodes with insipid melodrama, and is sadly quite a large part of the era from series 2 onwards. For the Moffat era, it is the insistence on domestic violence, with male characters being constantly slapped and pushed around the place by the same female character template. And for the Chibnall era, it's the Timeless Child. I just prefer what we had before. It's that simple, really. I get what he was trying to do with the whole adding mystery aspect, but I fear it is too late into Doctor Who's lifespan to be artificially adding mystery without running the risk that it could feel a little cheap. Yes, originally in Doctor Who, we knew nothing. There is a reason why it's called Doctor Who, but now we do, and you can't untake stuff away without it feeling kind of like a betrayal to the fandom. I get the intent, I really do. Back in the 70s, let's say people would tune in and they didn't know the backstory. They'd just see this crazy man going on adventures and be swept along for the ride. So it's not necessarily a bad idea, per se, to go, actually, the Doctor isn't who they think they are, nobody knows now. But You know, sometimes you don't need a reason. I just don't like it. Now, would I retcon it if I was in charge? No. I think Rusty Davies is actually doing the best approach with it. It's out there now. You can't really press an undo button. You put a line there with the toy maker if people really want to retcon it, which I personally really appreciate, but also he's following it through onwards, both thematically and literally. I've explained in great detail how the twist makes sense lore-wise, but here let's focus on whether or not it works character-wise, because I've heard a lot of people say the same thing recently, and that is that the Timeless Child turns the Doctor into the Chosen One, and that before the change, the Doctor wasn't special, was never treated differently, was always just a regular guy, nothing special about him. The double standard is insane to me. Doctor Who fans, when Rusty Davies calls the Doctor the lonely god and has him get raised to heaven like Jesus with the angels. Epic! Doctor Who fans, when Chibnall makes the Doctor a victim. What? To pretend that the Doctor hasn't been portrayed as Space Jesus throughout the whole of the revival is just disingenuous to me. The Series 3 finale literally has him gain superpowers. The 11th Doctor basically has everyone sucking him off constantly. And the 12th Doctor, do I even need to go into that? And I would like to pretend, as mainly a classic Doctor Who fan, that was any better, but let's be real here. The idea that the Doctor was just any other Time Lord had been abandoned even by the time of the 4th Doctor. The Deadly Assassin sees him far outclassing everyone around him, and the Invasion of Time sees him becoming the High President. In fact, the Doctor has become High President of Gallifrey once, twice, 3 times. And then of course you have the 7th Doctor literally saying this:
I am far more than just another Time Lord.
And that's not even going into all of the other plot twists which also drastically changed the Doctor's origins. The hybrid being the reason he left Gallifrey. Clara inspiring the Doctor in Listen. Clara telling the Doctor which TARDIS to get. No one seems to have a problem with fucking Clara being this damn important to the story. And then we got the whole half-human thing. That wasn't just from the TV movie. That's the whole part of the other storyline. Not to mention the fact that the Doctor is one of the only naturally born children on Gallifrey. Like, this is Superman's origin story over here. But people don't have a problem with any of that because the Timeless Child came out recently, and also Chibnall made it, and it ruined Doctor. All that to say, I see a lot of people saying now that Chris Chibnall had good ideas, but he just didn't expand on them, and I'm gonna have to disagree. The Timeless Child was expanded upon in Flux, but no one watched those episodes, so you don't remember. But if 2 scenes from the RTD era can make people be more on board with it, my main hope is that in a couple of years, when the Whittaker Renaissance starts, people might be able to think it wasn't too bad here either. And by the way, there will be a Whittaker Renaissance, regardless of what people might think. In 2015, it was unimaginable that the 12th Doctor would become popular in the fandom, and yet here I am seeing him win top of the doc polls consistently, as he should be, to be fair. People despised the 8th Doctor. They hated 7 and 6. Now they're all held in quite high regard. Same thing's gonna happen with the 13th Doctor. You may not believe it now, but we just have to wait and see. And now that we've got that out of the way, let me tell you why I do like the Chibnall era. Number 1, the visual style. I think it looks nice. Number 2, I like Jodie Whittaker and think she brings a warm presence to the screen. Number 3, the old villains got done nicely. The Daleks were treated with respect, the Cybermen got their coolest modern redesign to date, the Sontarans did too, and Ashad is probably the most unique and interesting thing Doctor Who has done with the Cybermen since the 60s. Number 4, Such a Dewan as the Master. Bro is too badass with it. And number 5, I enjoy the episodes. You see, when you look at the era, you hear people calling it bad. It's all bad, it's terrible, it's worse than Hitler. But then you think, well, it wasn't all bad. There were some good episodes in there. Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. You had Eve of the Daleks. That was a fun episode. Woman Who Fell to Earth. That was good too. Haunting of Villa Diodati. Oh, Fugitive of the Jadoon. Demons of the Punjab. Halloween Apocalypse was fun. So was War of the Sontarans. It Takes You Away. Village of Angels. Rosa. Hang on a second. That's like a third of the episodes. The Chibnall era is short. Shorter than any other. You can go through this in like a week. There are 31 episodes in total. Comparing that to the other eras, that would take you up to just past the end of Series 2 and halfway into Series 7A. Imagine the Russell T Davies era stopped at the Shakespeare Code. In fact, let's do a little activity. Let's judge the first 31 episodes of each era. And I'll throw in the 12 Doctors in there, why not? I'm going to be going through every episode and saying if they're good or bad. Just so we're on the same page, my indicator for if an episode is good is going to be if I consider it above a 5 out of 10. 5 and above equals good, 4 and below equals bad. I'm gonna go in release order, so Rusty Davies first, and we'll end with Chibnall. After that, we'll count up all the scores and see who did the best. 3, 2, 1, let's go. good, 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 good. Damn, I wonder who's the best modern Doctor. Good, bad, bad, good, good, bad, 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 good, good, bad, bad, good, 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 good. And now with the fraud. Good, 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 bad, good, bad, bad, good, bad, good, 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 bad, good, bad, bad, good, good. Back with my goal. Good, 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 bad, bad, good, good, bad, bad. Bad, 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 good, good. Good scene written by Stephen Moffat, but bad, bad, bad. Good scene written by Stephen Moffat, but bad, bad, good, good, good. I'm sorry, guys. Goku, good, 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 good. And now we're back to Chibnall. Good, 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 bad, good, 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 bad, good, 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 bad, good, 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 bad, good, 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 bad, bad, good, very bad, good. And that's the end. All of Doctor Who judged on a good/bad basis. Chibnall had 7 out of 31 bads, compared to Rusty Davies' 7 out of 31 bads. Matt Smith had 7, and Peter Capaldi had 14. Still my GOAT, always and forever. But this video wouldn't be complete unless I brought us up to date. New thing bad, as I always say. And the Chibnall era is no longer the new thing. No. Russell T Davies 2 has shocked us to our core with its bold, kinda samey reboot approach. I'm enjoying the era so far. There have been 4 episodes and I have liked all of them. I think season 1 looks fun, and overall I am positive on the 60th anniversary. Now, of course, there are things that I don't like, same as literally any other modern era, but it's definitely more good than bad. I will go on to judge future episodes, just as I would normally, because I am a consistent human being. But hopefully a lot of you guys who came into the fandom at around the 2017 era of the show are starting to catch on that a lot of the criticisms going around online for the modern era are just blind hate. And this is how it always was, people. It's not like all the same people who hated on the Chibnall era suddenly went crazy when they started hating on this new shit. No, it's the same level of funny ass, unserious, disingenuous level nitpicks that people were using against Chibnall. Doctor Who sent the master to a concentration camp. Allow it, man. Let it go. Let me check the script right now. Oh wow, that didn't happen. These people don't care who's in charge. They're gonna hate the new thing, and they're gonna hate it no matter what. Wild Blue Yonder is an exceptional episode of the show, with satisfying character moments and emotional beats, with great comedy and tense set pieces. And the soundtrack is immaculate too. But what do people focus on? A one-off line about Doctor Who being gay sounds about right. It's the exact same tactics used against the Chibnall era, down to the same ratings discussion. If you actually think the dip from 5.08 to 4.83 is bad, bro, that is a 95% hold. Only got #1 show of the day on Christmas? It's so over. I didn't want to single anyone out because it's not really fair. And I don't really have an issue with anyone personally who does this stuff. Not the guy who I'm about to show or anyone. You know, we all gotta make money somehow. I just thought I had to mention this somewhere because if I didn't include this, people would think I'm straw manning. I needed to give an example, at least one, of the good faith criticisms in quotation marks that I've been seeing against these episodes. This is an excerpt from the video Wild Blue Yonder is really bad.
The episode comes to an end when they return to London and meet Wilfred, who is waiting at the very corner they had left from earlier. Why did they return to a later point in time instead of just coming right back to when they left? That was the whole plan in the first place. She was only supposed to be gone for a few minutes.
I think this may be the most important part of the video because it really showcases everything I've been talking about in real time. These are the criticisms that I've been seeing for years now, being thrown around at every new piece of Doctor Who media that comes out. These are the types of comments that get picked up and spammed everywhere. I almost wanted to say it was a nitpick, but it isn't even that. If this cannot break you out of your stupor and think that maybe YouTubers can be wrong sometimes, This video is 6 minutes long, by the way. You can check it out for yourself to see that I'm not taking anything out of context. I am not. This is a legitimate criticism levied at the episode, and it's about on the same level as the stuff we've seen be thrown at the Chibnall era for years now. Why doesn't the TARDIS land exactly when it left is the starting point of the whole show. An Unearthly Child ends with the Doctor being unable to take Ian and Barbara home. In fact, Ian and Barbara only get home at the end of season 2, and they actually have to use a Dalek time machine because the Doctor still can't fly the TARDIS. In fact, it's only really after season 10 that the Doctor learns how to consistently fly the TARDIS. And still, even then, he's getting it wrong all the time. This isn't limited to the classic series. The modern series does this all the time. In fact, it's such a key part of the show that even though there doesn't even need to be, there are multiple in-universe explanations given as to why the TARDIS always ends up in these predicaments. But even if there weren't, it's just a part of the program. It's the premise of the show. This isn't a fair criticism. And boy, oh boy, it is not the only one. And it's definitely not limited to RTD2. In fact, I would say that this new era has it the easiest. By far, the fandom as a whole is so much more forgiving of Russell T Davies than it has been for both Stephen Moffat or Chris Chibnall. People just have a bias against the Chibnall era. Something about it just makes them see red. Looking at the logo makes them angry. Looking at Jodie Whittaker makes them angry. Calling Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who makes them angry. The TARDIS prop, the screwdriver sound effect, every single thing, even slightly associated with the Chibnall era, makes them angry. It goes beyond the point of reason and just poisons any discussion I want to have surrounding the era. And it's a shame because I like talking about the era. I like making fun of it. I like making jokes about it, having fun with it, but I can't do that because everyone takes this shit too seriously. And I know the majority of people who comment this stuff are children, but I just hope for a world where one day people will actually watch the episodes and come up with an opinion for themselves, and that they won't instead come up with these unserious, random ass critiques of Doctor Who episodes that they do not hold consistently. But as I have said many times throughout, I'm not saying you can't dislike something or even hate something or like something. I'm still gonna go on to criticize Doctor Who in the future. You guys know I will. And I'll criticize the Chibnall era too, because I'm fair. I have no biases. Why is that image on the screen? But being real, this isn't a video against negativity in the fandom. If there was no darkness, then we wouldn't know the light. This is a video about bandwagons in the fandom. This is a YouTube video telling you not to listen to YouTube videos. A little paradoxical, I know, but think about it this way. If you do listen to YouTube videos, but you don't listen to this one, then that is a good first step. And if you listen to YouTube videos and then you also listen to this one, which makes you stop listening to all of the other ones, including this one, that's also a W. What I'm trying to say is don't take all of your opinions from YouTube videos. If you disagree with all my gushing over Demons of the Punjab or Wild Blue Yonder and you hate those episodes, good for you. But also if you happen to agree, that's also great, as long as you came up with the opinions for yourself. In short, Russell T Davies, Stephen Moffat, Chris Chibnall, I love you.
Wait, what?
We out, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, you gamers. If you can believe it, 92% of people who watch the channel don't subscribe. What are you doing, man? And if you want to help support the channel in these trying times, you can click the join button below to gain access to a multitude of perks and benefits. Whoa, I'm doing too much. And if you want to help support the channel in these trying times, you can click the join button below to gain access to a multitude of perks and benefits, including access to the Discord server, exclusive member content, and my live commentaries and reactions to the latest Doctor Who episodes. Thank you to the members: Just Him, Teddy Bites, Green Goko, Lee, Kustretch, Potnoodle OW, Architect, Nico 3DS, Rogue Argentine, Zach Pollock, Oz Baxter, Ertle the Turtle, Casual Log, Eric is Waiting, Sanyu, Manny, Colin, Lehar S, Kyle Reese, Ido First, and literally nothing. And with all that said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. What's up, everybody? This is editing me here. This is DWFan91 post edit. I just finished everything up on the video, and I wanted to add this quick addendum, which is that I had to cut quite a lot from this video. Not really for time, because as you guys can see, this video is quite long already, but because it was holding the video back, if that makes sense. I like to have a flow while I'm making these videos. Yeah, you know how it is. And so large portions of the script of this video that I wrote, because yes, this video script is, sorry for breaking the illusion, a lot of that had to be cut because it just wasn't flowing. It wasn't making the video go the way I wanted it to, if that makes sense. But there's still so much I want to talk about, as you can imagine, about the Chibnall era, but also about the new era, Rusty Davies too. There's plenty of stuff which I just want to get off my chest, which I haven't felt like I've been able to, because as I say, the discourse around certain parts of the story they just get unbearable, man. And it isn't even so much that I dislike talking with people who don't like the era. No, man, I can have wonderful, happy fun times talking with people who I disagree with. In fact, I do it basically all the time. But when it's the same damn talking points every damn time, that's when that shit gets unbearable for me. I mentioned Spyfall, I hear the exact same, I don't even know if it's a joke or if they actually believe it, every damn time without fail. And that shit just gets boring. But anyway, that's me getting wildly off track. The point of what I'm trying to say is that I want to make another video where I talk about all the stuff that I wanted to talk about in this video, but I cut. Not for time, but let's just say for time. The music, for instance, is something I barely scratched on, and something which I am very certain is a big leading cause of why the Chibnall era is not as beloved and doesn't, in quotation marks, feel like Doctor Who to so many people. But also, as someone who is a fan of the music, it's really hard to, of course, show that without A, getting copyright striked, and B, just making the video really drag on. And there was a segment of the video which I cut out entirely because it felt like I was comparing the two composers, and I don't want to do that. I like both of them, and they're totally different styles of music, and music is like famous for being the literal poster child for subjectivity, for the concept of subjectivity. Music is the key example. So I don't want to be like, oh, I prefer this, oh, this is better than this, or blah blah blah. And I'm not like a massive music expert. I just know what I like, and I know what sounds entertain my brain. And so I just kind of cut that segment of the video a lot shorter, and hopefully I'll bring it up another time. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if you thought that there were certain parts of the video that felt like they just got cut off just as I was getting to a big point, stay tuned, fellas, because I will be talking about this. I'll be talking about everything. DWFan91 is back, bro. But that was the whole video. Again, thank you for watching if you made it this far. I imagine all the people who are listening to this are either members or people who have the video on autoplay and are like playing a video game while they watch. If you're doing that, shout out to you. Enjoy your cookie, boss. Goodbye.